What's up, Joe? What's up, everybody? The NBA playoffs are here. We're talking the Beard, the Greek Freak, the Splash Brothers, Dame Dollar, Uncle Drew, and them cats from Philly. It's going to be exciting. And if it's basketball, that means our man LDub is in the house, helping us break down each series. So let's get right to it. You'll be glad you stopped by as we talk NBA playoffs on Sports 360. Well, we have arrived at that part of the NBA season called the playoffs. And I'm on the phone with my man LDub, and we're going to get into the playoff series, which will kick off this weekend across Saturday and Sunday. LDub, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, getting ready for these playoffs, man. I'm excited about them. And yourself, Jeff?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. You know, as we're talking here now, it's Friday morning. Feeling good. Have a busy day ahead, but also looking forward to this weekend's games. And so we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk a little bit about as well. Before we do that, though, I want to talk and put a bow on the NCAA championship. Yeah, man, I'm feeling really good. I got one word that's just ringing in my ears this morning, LDub. Do you know what that word is?
What's that?
Playoffs. Playoffs. You remember that? Jim Mora, that press conference he had where he was like, playoffs.
But we were so bad. We just need to win right now. Yeah, I do remember that.
That always cracks me up. Between that and Allen Iverson talking about practice, those two, there's times I just go on YouTube and check both of those things out when I want to get a laugh. So,
and then you had Herb Edwards saying something similar to my playoffs. Man, we're just trying to win a game.
Herb Edwards was, you play to win the game.
Yes, sir.
Well, there's some things that are classics, man. But yeah, we're going to talk about the playoffs in a minute. But before we get to that, LDub, I do want to, like I said, tie up any loose ends on the NCAA championship. Again, the Virginia Cavaliers are the 2019 NCAA men's basketball champions. Congratulations to them. They defeated Texas Tech in an overtime game, it was a really an exciting game. And I just like to start off by congratulating those guys. Anybody who's listened to the podcast know that I didn't pick Virginia. I wasn't rooting for Virginia. I said I was critical of Virginia coming in. I'm not going to revisit all those things. The only thing I want to say is congratulations to them. They deserved it. They won. They played well. DeAndre Hunter played really well. Started the game. Kyle Guy was knocking down shots. The other kid, what's his name? Ty Jerome. He was making plays, creating things for his teammates. They played well. They won the game, and they deserve it. So hats off to the Virginia Cavaliers. What are your thoughts on what was an exciting game, LDub, and a good championship game for the NCAA?
Definitely. Actually, when you think about it, these were two of the best defensive teams in college basketball playing. I came into it thinking it was going to be a pretty low-scoring, boring game because of defense. We know basketball is beautiful, but it's because of the offense. To watch somebody put a move on someone, score the basket, that's what basketball is about for us. Seeing a guy get hot, hitting 4 shots in a row. And actually, we had a lot of that in this game. The kid that you did mention just earlier when you was talking about Virginia was DeAndre Hunter. I mean, this guy came up big. And being that he was probably the most highest rated, possible professional player going into, if he decided to go into the draft, he lived up to the billing because the games prior to that, he was kind of struggling. To me, he was kind of being passive, struggling, and, just didn't show that he was the guy that was going to be a lottery pick. But this game he played against Texas Tech, he came out. I mean, he did everything he was supposed to do: rebound, make the right pass, and he hit big shots. Actually, the game went down to the last 13 seconds when he hit the shot in the corner. Again, the rule of thumb of basketball, when you think about defense, is that, hey, if we're up by 3, we'll give you a 2. We just won't give a 3. But for some reason, Cover, who is another highly NBA prospect, decided to leave Hunter and go to Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome made the right play and sealed the victory. But the game was well played. No team should hang their heads. Any team could have won, any team could have lost. Both coaches did a great job, and like I said, I want to commend Virginia also on a championship. But I also want to tip my hat to Texas Tech, because if those guys stayed together and came back, we're going to be entertained next year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So it was as we said, it was a well-played game, very competitive, obviously exciting going into overtime. And again, congratulations to Tony Bennett, his staff, and all the players at UVA, NCAA champs. But now let's turn our attention to NBA action and the NBA playoffs. Again, as we said, it kicks off this weekend. And what I like to do, LDub, is just go through the matchups in the East and in the West. I want to start in the East, give you my armchair predictions, and then get your view as someone who's has a lot of experience in this game. But starting in the East, I would just say this, LDub. In my view, I don't see any upsets in the first round in the Eastern Conference. I think Milwaukee's going to take care of Detroit. I think Toronto's going to take care of Orlando. And when I say take care of, I mean, a 4-game sweep or a 4-1 type of a situation. 76ers in Brooklyn, I think, is going to be an interesting series, particularly if Joel Embiid, his health coming into the series. They're saying he may not start the series because of, some knee issues. And on the other side, Brooklyn can just put the ball in the hole. So I think that's going to be an interesting series, but I think the Sixers win that one. And then I like the Celtics over the Pacers, even though the Celtics are without Marcus Smart, which I think is going to, hurt them down the road. Obviously, the Pacers have been without Oladipo for a few months now, but that, Marcus Smart being out, is going to hurt the Celtics, but I think they'll have enough to get by the Pacers. So for me, I'm taking the top 4 seeds: Milwaukee, Toronto, 76ers, and the Celtics to come out of the East, the first round of the East. So how do you see the matchups in the Eastern Conference?
Well, I'll go through it just like you did, and I pretty much have it like you did, but I got a little bit more stipulations than you did. You talked. Let's start with the Nets and the Sixers since they play Saturday. Actually, both teams are split. Both have won one game at home, one on the road. So basically, they know each other very well, and Nets have a great chance of beating the Sixers. However, because the Sixers have put themselves in this position to be the 3rd seed, and Joel Embiid has spoken so highly of how he's the best center in the world, I think he's going to try to live up to that. And I see them winning, in a 5-game series. I see it being a 4-1, simply because they can't afford to stretch the series, because they still got the Bucks to have to deal with as the number 1 seed. After. Even though they're not going to play in the 2nd round, they would play them in the 3rd round. They need their rest, just because of what you said, because Joel Embiid has been hurt so long. You don't want to risk him, being out there a long time, putting more injury to, on his ankle or his knees. So that's the way I see that series. And, the Nets have some viable players, in Allen, the guy, and Dinwiddie, and also the point guard from L.A., point guard they traded, D'Angelo Russell. But again, I just don't see them matching up to all that size and athleticism that the Sixers bring. They got they got 5 players almost averaging 20 points. So you pick your poison. As long as 2 or 3 of them show up every game, it's going to be hard to outscore those guys.
Okay, so you have the Sixers prevailing there, and you have it 4-1. Okay.
I have Sixers winning in 5, 4-1. Correct.
Got it. Okay. Who do you have up next?
Then we got the Magic and the Raptors. The Raptors just haven't shown me consistency all year. Even though they have a great team, they do the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde approach a lot. One game they'll blow someone out that's good. Next game they'll lose to someone that's not as good. But if the real Raptors ever show up, I see them sweeping the Magic, and simply because the Magic just, I don't know, they just don't have a great formula. You never know which player is going to show up. Every team has a superstar that just shows up every game. The Magic don't have that player. They don't have that guy. And we thought Garden was going to be that player, but he's like third best player on the team now. And it's just they don't have a go-to guy. So I see them, if the Raptors come out playing the basketball they're capable of playing, I see the Raptors sweeping them. If the Raptors don't come out playing the way, I see it going six games, and I don't know if they want to do that, make it go 6 games, because they're going to prolong it. In, like I said, they'll have the Sixers the next round, and I wouldn't want to meet the Sixers after having played 4 games with Orlando. You're kind of tired.
Yeah, you don't want that series to go too far and then have to deal with all that firepower and physicality that the Sixers bring. Okay, so Toronto over Orlando. Who do you have next?
Next we got the Pacers and the Celtics. Similar to what you said Oladipo, but I think it's the whole Pacers team has not been together all year. There's been at least 2 players out all throughout the season. If one player was in, 2 more were out. If 2 players came back in, 2 more went out. So I just think the consistency of them playing together is going to be a problem when you're playing the Celtics that's led by Kyrie Irving, as well as all the players healthy except for Marcus Smart. Don't get me wrong, I think Marcus will play this game. He's one of the guys that wouldn't sit out. And the fact that Boston has, played together for the substantial part. Most of their guys missing, they may say injuries, but a lot of it was rest. They just chose to rest those guys. The only concern I have really with Indiana giving them a battle is the fact that they have Nate McMillan as a coach. And I know Nate I know him personally, so he's not going to just let these guys come in their house and just run all over you unless they're just better than you. Then there's nothing he can do. So I see this game going six games simply because of that, and I think it's going to be 4-2 for the Celtics. I see it going 6 games.
Right. Okay. All right. So we have one series left then in the East, and that one is Milwaukee and Detroit.
And man, we're only playing this game because Detroit, got in on the back door. They won 1 or 2 more games more than the Miami Heat. So this is just, we're playing this because the NBA says you have to play the game. But this is a sweep, man. This is a sweep. Bucks are gonna beat the bricks off these guys, man. And Greek Freak, that's all I need to say. There's nothing they can do with that guy, man.
Yeah, and with Blake's, situation and everything else, I think this one is short order. Do you see Milwaukee taking care of this one in 4?
I see it a sweep. I see not boom. I see the broom.
Okay, all right. So that's how we see the East, and as you said, I think we do see that one the same way. And let's see how the games unfold starting tomorrow. Now let's turn our attention to the West. And again, I'm just going to, excuse me, I'm just going to go through my selections in the West.
Okay.
And then obviously you provide yours with, your analysis of it. But, the Warriors and the Clippers, I'm going with the Warriors to take this one. I don't know in how many games or anything like that, but I think the Warriors prevail here. I don't think that's going to be much of an issue for them. Nuggets and Spurs. I'm going to go with the Spurs in this series. Only because I think the Nuggets have. I don't like the way they finished the season. And not playing, I don't believe their best basketball. And at the same time, too, being a younger team, you got more veterans on the other side. You obviously have Coach Popovich on the other side. This seems to me to be a dangerous series for the Nuggets, given how they're playing. And I'm going to go with the Spurs. The Blazers and OKC, I think it's going to be a fantastic series. And on this one, again, I'm going to go with the lower seed. I think OKC is going to find a way to take out the Blazers in this series. So I'm going with those two lower seeds, the Spurs over the Nuggets, OKC over Portland. And then the last one, which I think is going to be just a fantastic series, Houston and Utah. I think this is going to be tough. I think Houston falling to the 4th spot is going to come back and bite them perhaps, but I think Houston will prevail in what probably is going to be one of the more entertaining series that we have. Utah's been great. They've been playing some really good basketball since January, and so I don't think this is going to be easy, but I do like Houston to prevail. So I'm going with the Warriors, Spurs, OKC, and Houston. What about you, Jeff?
We're in agreement with all of them except for the Thunder, but I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why in a minute. Let's start off like you said, the Clippers and the Warriors. First of all, the Clippers are going to be without Gallinari, which is their leading scorer for their team, and he's out with his ankle. So that's going to pose a problem for them already. The only hope that I give Clippers is that how Doc Rivers put together this team with veterans and young players that are real talented. I think they have a great blend of, veterans as well as talent. So that's going to give them a chance. But the Warriors, I mean, what can I say? We talked about it earlier. Until somebody beat them, they're my champions because, you got another team that's got 4 guys that's bringing in, an average of 20 points every game just for being on the floor. That's Durant, that's Klay Thompson, that's Steph Curry, and then that's the big guy, the center, DeMarcus Cousins. Book those in for 80 points just for being on the floor. That's 80 points. It's still going to be hard for you to keep up with that when your leading scorer is out of the game. So I got the Warriors, and I do give simply because Doc Rivers again, and like I said, that blend of young talent, they're going to sneak one. I think they're going to get one, but they're going to lose, in 5 games, 4-1 over the Warriors. So I think the Warriors will take that, and they'll be ready to get their little rest and move on to the next round. As far as the Spurs and Nuggets, yeah, the edge goes to the Spurs to me anyway. It goes all the way back to when David Thompson and Iceman was going for the scoring title, and David Thompson had the scoring title. He had scored 73 points, and he was the leader. And then 8 hours later, Iceman played, and they lost. But he needed 63 points to score it. And at halftime, he already had 50-something. So David Thompson knew that his record was gone. That was the night
right.
that was the night that Ice hit 33 points in 1 quarter, which is still, I think, a record in the NBA. So having said that, and that they got Coach Popovich now, and all that the Nuggets have is Mike Malone. Mike Malone knows how to win games, but I don't know. Playoffs is a different beast, man. You got to be able to put everything together, and everything has to work, perfectly. And his team has not played good together like it's kind of like you may have the peanut butter, but you don't have the jelly. You may have the mustard, but you forget the hot dog. That's the way the Nuggets have been playing, man. I mean, seriously, it's like that. And not that they're not a good team when you look at them on paper, but it's just they haven't put it together. So I'm going with the Spurs. I'm saying it's going to take 6 games because, again, you're going to play a few games up in Mile High Stadium, and that's going to be a factor for them because, you know, the attitude up there. So I'm giving the Denver 2 games, but I think it's going to be a 6-game series where the Spurs win. They prevail in 4-2. Now, on to your one that you said you were going with the Thunder. I'm totally different. I mean, last year, the Blazers, you know, kind of exited the playoffs early, and they were, you know, supposed to go further. This year, I think Stroud has figured it out, and, you know, with the addition of Enos Cannon and Rodney Hood, I think that helped them a lot. And if McCollum comes back healthy, which he will be playing, they have him questionable. But again, when you're talking about playoffs and you're talking about athletes, the guys that really like to play, and Sheldon McCollum is a coach's son, he's not going to miss. You know, he's going to be on the floor. I just think the combination of the way they've been playing and the fact that, you know, Russ and them are good. And don't get me wrong, I think Russ and what's his name?
Paul George.
PG3. I don't even call him Paul. I'll be trying to think of what the is. PG13.
Yeah.
I think between those two guys, they're as good as any combo that's ever been in the league. But, and that's just it, the inconsistency of when they do score a lot of points, no one else brings anything. And the big guy, you know, not really scoring because he said something was wrong with his wrist last week. You know, that may be a factor. But I just think because the Blazers, you know, with McCollum and Damian Lillard and all the other guys playing great, I'm like Candace Parker said, I know that the Thunder are a team that's dangerous, but I think South is coming in there knowing that, and those guys are going to just outwork them. I think Damian Lillard and them outwork them. So I got the game. It's going 6 games. But I still say if McCollum's healthy, I picked the Blazers to win in 6, 4-2.
Got it. Okay. And then we have our last one, which is a 4-5 matchup, a great matchup between Houston and Utah.
Utah normally with anybody, I would say Utah has a chance in any series, but without Rubio, that means a lot of the focus is going to be on guys. Even the kid Donovan Mitchell having to play a lot of the point, which is going to take away from him. Donovan Mitchell can score with anybody, and I can see him having a game that maybe Houston's not hitting threes, that he outscored James Harden. So I see him winning 2 games, but it's just too much. It's too much offensive power from the Rockets for them to sustain it, especially without Rubio playing. He's not playing this series, so I can't see them beating the Rockets without their point guard, without their starting point guard, you know, really helping them and scoring and, you know, causing mismatch problems over Chris Paul. I can't see them beating the Rockets. So I got the Rockets winning in 4, and it's only because the Rockets got home court advantage. If they didn't have home court advantage, like you said, slipping the 4th almost cost them. And it probably will come back to hunt them because the next series, they got the Warriors.
Yeah, and I think that's the big problem for them. But now, you said Houston, but you have them in 6, right?
In 6.
Okay. Yep. Okay. All right. So, you know, we're in terms of the results, you know, we're, you know, seeing it a lot alike except for one series, and that's the Blazers and OKC. So we'll see how it turns out. I do think it's going to be, before I go any further, what's interesting, and we haven't mentioned it, but this is a postseason without LeBron James, right? Right. But here's the thing. But I don't, when you look at these series, the matchups and the players, you know, whether you have James Harden or the Greek Freak, or, you know, the Splash Brothers, obviously, you know, the Celtics have some great players on their team. You got Russ and and Damian Lillard and Paul George, and you talked about McCollum. You got Donovan Mitchell. I mean, there are just a lot of fantastic players who are going to
Right.
be highlighted. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, a lot of fantastic players. So the NBA does not lack star power. And so, even though this is a series or a postseason without LeBron James, there's no Dwayne Wade, I still believe this is going to be a fantastic postseason. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's just like life, man. Nutrition. Someone leaves, someone steps up to the plate. It's been like that ever since, and it's going to continue to be like that. Even though we have our favorites, I think the NBA is very well positioned to last for a long time with great talent, and it's going to be even more talent once they open up the league for guys to come straight back out of high school, and it's going to sustain for a long time after that. So I'm with you in that. I'm in agreement with that. Even though they're not in it and you're used to hearing their name, now you got to learn about the Greek freak. Now you got to learn about, like you said, MD doing his thing. Actually, the kid Jared Allen is going to make a presence. And, everybody, I know Spencer Dinwiddie, even back in the days of Colorado, I knew the guy would be a good pro. But he's stepping his game up highly for the net, So you got all these players that can maintain. You didn't even mention Kawhi Leonard. I mean, which
That's
is
right.
Again,
Right.
a household name
Sure.
throughout the whole world. Kyrie Irving. You didn't mention his name. I mean, Al Horford. All those guys, man, that make a difference. The kid's the Joker for Denver.
Yep.
I mean, this kid, he's leading his team in rebounds, assists, and scoring. I mean, This is a center position, which is letting, the world know, like Joel Embiid shooting outside, shooting threes and stuff. He's trying to keep quiet as kept. We're saying, Joel, just stay down on the box and you can win championships for a long time. But he's looking at the market value of what the Joker is. This kid, from Europe, he can do everything. He can dribble, he can pass, he can shoot. So Joel Embiid is competing to be the best center in the world. So that means he has to outplay Joker, So that's the competitive thing that people don't see and don't understand, that if you say you're going to be the best, and that's why I told you earlier, Joel had been talking so much, he's going to have to live up, because he's been putting it out there that I'm the best center, best player in the world. And he means that. Even though you might see him in a joking manner, he wants to believe that. And then you got people like Boogie Cousins, who's been quieter than he's ever been, verbally. He still makes a lot of complaints and, calls and just technicals on the court. But his play speaks for itself, man. The guy is dominant. He's inside present. And he's trying to, if you notice, he's even shot more threes this year than he's ever shot before in his career. Just trying to change the way they play the game. It's pretty much it's going to be 5 out. That's the way the game is going to be played within the next, I give it 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Everybody.
I think, we're seeing that now. A lot of it now, right?
No
one's in the middle.
Right. So, I'm with you, man. The NBA has enough names to sustain itself for another 15 years. At least.
Yeah, and certainly they'll get through this postseason. It should be exciting. So it tips off tomorrow. Looking forward to the game Saturday and Sunday. And I'm sure LW you're going to enjoy them as well. So as always, man, good talking with you, talking hoops. And, we'll be back again soon, checking in on these series, and enjoy the games this weekend.
You also be safe, man, out there. And like I said, get ready to see some basketball at its best.
That's right. I agree. All right, LDub. I'll catch up with you soon.
Take care. Have a good day.
You too.